The meeting will come to order.
No, it's not contaminated. How are you feeling, Peter? You all back to normal?
Define normal.
That's impossible.
Just to begin this session with a reminder of the mission of this college, Santa Barbara City College provides students a diverse learning environment that inspires curiosity and discovery, promotes global responsibility, and fosters opportunity to all. And we'll see that all the way through, I'm sure. Roll call. Everyone is here except Veronica. And I believe that she will be here as soon as she can, yes. Well, I welcome all of you here, those of you who are here to give reports, the trustees, and anyone who wishes to speak with us. But first, do we have items out of order? All right. Then, do we have any citizens who wish to speak? All right. Recognitions?
We have
No,
none.
not today, right. Okay. We'll give Veronica a minute to get her breath here. We'll start our reports then. Kim? Dr. Mata?
Hey,
Catch your breath.
nothing taking out of order is, might be a first for,
I think it's the first
since
time.
I've been elected. So I don't,
Well, Happy New Year. Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Gaskin. As you know, it's our first week of classes, and so to continue the tradition of reminding you what it's like to be a faculty member the first week of classes, there's the excitement of meeting that new group. It's like a party or a family or a, how do you, as you set the stage for this semester together. So there's that really, really exciting energy as we start to build community. And that energy was, I think, fueled even more than usual because we had an exceptionally wonderful in-service together on Thursday and Friday. So the Thursday of in-service, as some of you know who were there, we had the day for our entire faculty and staff and managers. And so the workshops throughout the day had this wonderful cross-fertilization. And it was really exciting. And it was exciting for staff and managers to see some of what goes on in the classroom. It was exciting for us to share ideas. We also, as a campus, tried to share something that's more from the academic area, which is one of our institutional learning outcomes. So my real focus for today is to just share a couple of materials that we created from faculty inquiry groups that our EVP, Dr. Friedlander, funded for this fall, which was wonderful. And we had a small group of dedicated faculty. In August, we shared a student video that was inspired by goal setting, and we shared that at the all-campus flex. And then this last time, last week it was, a week ago, Liz and Dan and I got up from the three different groups from staff, management, and faculty and shared our discussions about goal setting and how each area was going to be thinking more about that institutional learning outcome of setting professional and personal goals. And so that was really wonderful to share that kind of energy together. And many faculty and staff and managers shared their goals publicly with each other, and we had that display, and I will be sending that campus-wide, that moment to take a breath and send that. Hasn't come yet. But what I have brought you is I have brought you, some of you were there, so you already have the bookmark, but I wanted to bring the bookmark to the other members of the board. You got one yet? I'll bring it to the Senate, too.
thank you.
I have.
Thank you.
I forgot to take it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So one side of the bookmark shares our institutional learning outcomes 6, which has been slightly revised over the last year through a lot of faculty input. The board will see all of the revised ISLOs by the end of this semester. We're trying to get them approved in time for the catalog copy for next year. But many faculty are taking the time to read this in their classroom, to discuss what goal setting means. and to also raise that awareness that so many of their classes are contributing to the development of these core skills and ways of approaching life. And with that awareness, they will see those connections. So we shared this with the campus. These are bookmarks. Many faculty are sharing them. They're available in the library and the LRC. The lobby in the LRC has some banners up that relate to this. And there's a wall where students can post goals because that public action is really important. And then the last thing I'm going to show you is some posters that were created by this group, and especially Sally Gill in marketing. And these different posters are up in the classrooms throughout campus. And so they're a way to give a visual for thinking about this goal setting. And so this one asks to think at the semester level. This one focuses on that idea of working with others. How do you treat others? You can embrace difference. This beautiful photograph with that concept. And this is great. Do you know how to find help? And that idea of connecting. And of course, we talk so much of that through student support services. And then this very simple one about just going to class. And so these are really graphic reminders of thinking about how we want to be as students, but also as we're developing as people. The Senate hasn't met yet, so at my next report, I'll have more details about what we're working on more specifically, but this is going on in a lot of classrooms across campus. Thank you. Any questions? Okay.
Any questions?
No questions. I commend you for sharing that with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mata. All right. Next, we have a report by the Associated Students. Colette?
Hello, members of the board and Dr. Gaskin. So Student Senate has also not had their first meeting of the year. We will have that on Friday. But immediately right now we have 6 people who have picked up applications to join Senate this semester, which is really exciting. We'll be filling our 3 vacant positions, which are PR, student advocate, and commissioner of clubs. So I'm really excited. We've been doing a lot of talking out in front of classes about student government, what it is, how you can get involved. So I'm really excited to see the new faces showing up on Friday to attend our first meeting. This semester, you guys kind of heard a couple of my goals before winter break, but to reiterate them, I want to start small with focusing on our school community first and having students build a lot of pride in this institution. I know a lot of people are only here for 2 years, then they move on, but City College is something that is going to be a part of their lives forever, we hope. And so I think creating a sense of pride within the school community, in the teachers and in the students, is going to make us more connected, so then we can fix the problems outside, such as creating a closer bond with UCSB and Isla Vista, and then moving forward from there. So those are a couple of things. Are there any questions? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very ambitious.
Liz? We'll have the report on the classified employees from Liz.
Well, we also haven't met since our last meeting. We'll be meeting, though, with the Plump group next week, and then we'll start our regular meetings after CPC meets. I want to concur with what Kim said about the in-service. The all-campus day, I think, was a great success. I think the changing of it so that the faculty and staff could share together different trainings and was a very good idea. And as I mentioned in my talk then, staff haven't really been involved in developing the ISLOs, but I think they do it all the time, especially the goals. The student services, especially that group, helps students do their goals from getting enrolled in school to getting aid. So I think that those goals also apply to staff. So I'm glad that the Senate is taking the initiative to kind of move that forward. I also wanted to make a comment about something that happened a couple weeks ago. We had an earthquake drill, and I was one of the victims, and I think it was a great experience. I think the fact that we've talked about safety for so many years, it's finally happening. I mean, to have the full-scale drill like that, and I think all the people that were CERT trained got a lot of good information. We had a good debrief afterwards, but Yeah, because I talked about safety many, many years ago and didn't see it happen. All of a sudden, it's really happening, and I really appreciate, especially Lori's input on that to get that going. So I think that was a good drill, and they told us there'll be more as time went on.
Great.
Any questions?
Thank you very much, Liz.
I would add thank you to Dr. Gaskin for, following through on the trustees' wishes and making it a real priority, even if it was one of her pre-existing priorities. We did need to come up to date, and thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Dr. Gaskin?
Thank you. I have a number of things to update you on. It seems like it's been a long time since we've been together. So I do wish you a wonderful 2015, and we're raring to go with a great board. I have to concur with Dr. Monda and Liz. All-campus kickoff has been truly transformed into exactly what we had hoped it would be. It's a collaborative, it's a coming together of all the employees, and it's focused on the essence of what we're all about, which is teaching and learning. It has been an absolutely beautiful thing to watch, and it's also migrated from my input to the collective college input through PDAC, which is the Professional Development Advisory Committee, and I couldn't be more thrilled. Kudos to PDAC, kudos to the Faculty Professional Development Committee, and to all of the leaders that you see sitting around here, because they have really made the kickoff to each semester so very meaningful. It was a really lovely thing to watch. The second thing I wanted to share with you is what has been in the news for quite some time. Actually, two things. One is on your agenda, and that has to do with President Obama's announcement about free tuition, that goal. And you'll be considering that later, so I'll share my comments then. But the second thing is the baccalaureate degree program for California community colleges. And just to remind you all, this is a pilot program that the legislature supported for 15 colleges out of the 112 colleges in the state. There was an application process, and somewhat at the last minute, a caveat was placed on the bill relative to the types of baccalaureate degrees that might be offered. And that caveat is that we could not propose a degree if it was also offered at a CSU or a UC. So heretofore, where we might have been interested in nursing or early childhood education or addiction studies or administration of justice or any number of programs, that caused us to reflect and to speak with and confer with the faculty and to make the decision that we were not going to pursue that. So the ones that you see selected are not ones offered at CSU or UC, such as mortuary science, equine studies, dental hygiene, automotive, industrial automation, and the like. And we're very, very excited for our sister institutions who are pursuing this. Again, it is a pilot. It will sunset in 2023, and this allows us and the Accrediting Commission the opportunity to see how it goes. So any questions on baccalaureates and why we did not pursue that?
Well, I did have a question.
Sure.
It seemed like that last-minute narrowing of the kinds of degrees that might be applied for was at variance with the original intent of the legislation. Would you agree with that?
Not necessarily. The time it took to work through the negotiations for that legislation in the background occurred because of a lot of conferring with our system partners. CSU is anointed through law with a particular mission, and UCs are anointed through law with a particular mission. And we're very careful and purposeful not to overlap. You will recall it was a huge deal for CSUs to offer EDDs several years ago. And so that has been worked out. So it doesn't surprise any of us in the field that it took a long time for California community colleges to be able to offer baccalaureates, and then those baccalaureates would be quite restrictive. We knew that. We knew it would never be able to offer things like math or English or economics or history. So it's pretty focused in the CTE area, career and technical education.
Any other questions?
I have a minor one.
Yes.
What is EDDs? I'm
The
sorry.
Doctorate of Education, so it's a practitioner. EDD is a doctorate in education, a practitioner degree, instead of a doctor of philosophy, PhD.
Okay,
So a doctorate that is a practitioner doctorate in the field of education, EDD.
Thank you, we do that a lot.
Yeah,
you know, I didn't, new one to me, and there are many new ones, but that one I didn't know what she was talking about.
So a few more updates, sorry about this. The Neighborhood Task Force, as I suspect Marianne and Marty will be reporting on, finished last week with your work, and I'm expecting a final report to come fairly soon. Anticipating that, we have scheduled a joint Board of Trustees, Santa Barbara City Council meeting so that the co-chairs of the committee as well as the facilitator, Daniel Isofano, can present the recommendations to the joint governing boards, and that will be March 2nd. Here. We are in discussions with MTD about pursuing some legislative changes. Currently, the law is such, the code is such that California community colleges have the ability to charge a parking fee, which we do, and under certain criteria, a transit fee, which we do. The transit fee locally is to allow our students to access MTD, and the parking fee is to allow students to park on campus. But the code says that together they cannot exceed $70. And so MTD and parking are hitting this cap, and it's an artificially imposed cap. So what we're seeking to do is to decouple those two and put separate caps on them so that MTD can go to the students and raise theirs in an appropriate fashion, commensurate with their costs, and we can go through our process of raising parking fees, and we won't hit that $70 cap. That's happening. Nothing's ever simple. Yes.
I think we have a question over here.
It's my recollection that with the parking fees, they're not to exceed the cost to the college of the parking, so it's got an inherent cap.
It's got a
in
cap
that
of
way,
$50. 50.
basically. But I mean,
And we're at
inherent in
30.
it, if our costs do not
Then-
match,
Right, then that gives
Then-
MTD only $20.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I
right
see
now-
that problem, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I think that the argument to separate them makes even more sense, given the inherent cap in the parking already.
Absolutely, yes. I wanted to yes,
What was the transit fee? What does that cover? Is that,
full access to MTD buses for every student.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, I see. That
And
makes
so
sense.
if a student tried to buy that pass on their own, it would be $52 a month. We charge
I believe it went up to 30.
$33.25. So it's no, I'm sorry, $30, yeah, you're right. So it's an incredible subsidy for MTD to provide to our students.
And where does that subsidy come from?
It's MTD and SBCC working together to provide that.
Their budget, though, I assume.
Right,
TD's budget.
right. That's why they would like to move that up ever so slightly. Yes.
And Lori, for our students, it's 30 a
30.
semester.
A semester.
Yeah, so it's a very.
Not, and as compared to a monthly pass, which is 52 a month. If we did not have this transit fee, it would be 52 a month for similar service.
Good one, yeah.
Okay, I wanted to comment on the earthquake drill. It was a full-scale drill. It involved us operationalizing our emergency operations center and my becoming incident commander and having all of the staff mobilized. It also involved the county and the city. It was completely full-scale, and it was a delight to be able to do this. And Liz is absolutely right. We need to do this on a more regular basis. We've done some last year, and we have all of the equipment in place. And remember, I ranted and raved when I first got here that we had a long way to go. Now I have to tell you, we're probably right up there in the top 5 colleges in the state in terms of our preparedness. I'm really proud, and I'm really proud of Joe's leadership and Rob Morales and Eric Fricke. because those three people, along with Alex, Joe's assistant, have shouldered the great majority of it. So we are up there, and it's amazing, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you, Joe and Rob and Eric and Alex. And then finally, I believe I have this right, but boy, we're a complicated group. 5 of us are going to Sacramento, all at different times this weekend. Peter Hasland is going, Marty Bloom is going, Mary Ann Kugler is going, Jonathan Aboud is going, and Lori Gaskin is going. And we'll certainly want to note that in the minutes, that we're going to the Effective Trustee Workshop and the Legislative Conference over the weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. We're ready for student success scorecard review, aren't we? Oh, yes, I'm sorry, we do have. Do you have a report, ma'am?
Actually, I don't. Fiscal committee did not meet
yes.
because the governor's budget was not yet out, so we deferred for next month, February 9th.
And Craig, you have a report, I bet.
Yeah, we just met Tuesday, the Facilities Committee, and we selected a new chairman. I was designated. In attendance was Lori, a bunch of experts. Marty missed that meeting. I hope you're well. And Jonathan.
I honestly forgot that I had changed committees. So I looked at the, and I thought, oh no, I'll wait for the fiscal. So that was my
Well, you were missed.
senior moment, I guess.
No, it's just like one of those things they say, stuff happens.
Yeah,
So,
it did. So sorry.
But we did have, the meeting didn't take terribly long, but we did have a lot of questions which were adequately answered. And we reviewed the La Playa Stadium project, and these are, I guess we're voting on later today. So the East Campus water system, little minor change order, and a letter of agreement with AEC, OM, and a remodel of the temporary buildings that we're doing down under the bridge there and what's going on, and there was a little change order there, but we're doing pretty well on that. And the shot centers, we had quite a nice discussion about the shot center and the window replacements and the maintenance the deferred maintenance that was way too long deferred. It was reported to us that the neighbors were coming up to the contractor doing the work, and they were very pleased at what they saw happening. So that's good for our public relations. And, we didn't find anything wrong with, so we would recommend that, approval of those items.
Thank you, Craig.
Sorry, too long-winded, I know.
No, that was excellent. Just a reminder to all of us that the work in the committees addresses the detail that we can't do at the board as a whole and get through our agendas. And so it's really very much appreciated by all of you. That work is very important. Now, we may be ready for our report on the student success scorecard.
So it's my pleasure to welcome Robert Else up. Robert Else is our Senior Director of Institutional Resource Assessment and Planning, and you see him every year about this time going over the scorecard, as well as providing us updates on accreditation.
Pardon my clunking. I feel so far away, Does this count as working remotely? Give me a second to, no, it doesn't. Okay, all right. Let's see. I'm going to go to the Chancellor's Office website where we will look at the Student Success Scorecard for the 2014 year. Last year we looked at the 2013 scorecard, and this year will be, yeah.
I'm going to it from your page.
Oh, sure,
So that
yeah.
everybody can see it's
Sure, okay. So to get to institutional research, you click on the college, and then institutional research, we're 2 clicks away there, and then down at the bottom left here, 2 from the bottom, is Student Success Scorecard. And you can see it takes us right to Santa Barbara City College, But there's also a scorecard for the other 111 colleges in the system, as well as one scorecard that gives you a statewide aggregated metrics for all these different measures. If you want to go there directly, you go to scorecard.cccco, 4 C's and an O, scorecard.cccco.edu. This is open to the public, and the intention is to make the system-wide metrics and the individual college metrics more visible, more transparent, and as an effort to inform everyone of what's really going on in this system. This data comes actually from our office, the Institutional Research Office. At the end of every term, we submit files that describe each of our courses, each of our students, their ethnicity, age, backgrounds, and so on, each of their enrollments, so students enrolled in courses, and each of the outcomes in those courses, how they progressed, how they performed in the class, and so on, as well as many, many other things. The state chancellor's office then aggregates all that data, runs processes and filters of their own, adds metrics of their own, such as did the students transfer to a CSU or a UC school or a four-year school somewhere else in the country. So they add transfer data, other data of their own, and then post it on this scorecard. So this is data that we report, analyzed and filtered and processed by the Chancellor's Office, and then made public on this scorecard. This first screen is a general profile screen of the college. It tells us things like our head count. Now this is our annual head count for the 2012-13 academic year. You'll see that the time windows are very important to pay attention to here, and I'll explain those as we go along. But 2012-13, our head count, this is credit students only on this screen, credit students, 26,257. That's counting each student once for that academic year, even if they showed up, summer, fall, and spring, we only count each student once. That's called an unduplicated head count. Here's the breakdown of male versus female, 53% and about 46% male, 1% unknown. That's been pretty constant for many, many years, hasn't changed much. As has our age breakdowns. These have been pretty constant. Less than 20 years old is our largest age group. People born in 1990s, how can that be? That makes the data real, doesn't it? So, interestingly,
There
though,
must be a
the
flaw.
ethnicity breakdown
Can't be that old.
can't be possible, right? The Hispanic population continues to grow. This was less than 25% not that long ago. So that's a significant shift. African American continues to grow, and those are probably the two major shifts. I should point out at this point, this screen includes all students, including international. The subsequent screens that we'll look at only include students that have United States Social Security numbers. So that's going to exclude international. That's one big difference here. This is looking at our student body as a whole. But when we look at outcomes, we're only looking at non-international students. Other information here on this screen are full-time equivalent students. That's a measure of how many hours students were actually here counting. So for example, 2 half-time students would be 1 full-time student. That's that measure there. The number, here's how many different course sections we offered, the median section size, percentage of full-time faculty, and our student-to-counseling ratio, which this number really is really inflated larger than it really is, because it includes our large dual enrollment program, our very large non-credit program, which those are things that distinguish us from other schools. So this number is really not quite as shockingly large as it seems here. Any questions or comments about this screen? Yes.
I'm wondering, it looks like the second year in a row that we still have 0 on non-credit sections. Can
Yes.
we get them to fix that?
Well, actually, that will go away next year because we actually have 2 different college ID numbers for our credit division and our non-credit division. The historical reason for that is we have 2 separate calendars. Non-credit is on a quarter system, we're on a semester system, and the data system at the Chancellor's office can't handle that. So they've treated us as 2 separate colleges in that respect. However, next year, we're bringing all of non-credit data into our one unified data system banner. So we will appear as one college, and this data will, that issue will correct itself.
But the rest of the data that we're looking at here is including non-credit?
This
or
part of
not?
all this part of the screen includes credit only. The
Credit
only
only.
numbers here that include non-credit, I know this is odd, but the only numbers on this screen that include non-credit is this full-time equivalent students number and this student counseling ratio.
Okay.
Everything else is credit only. I'll be glad when that goes away, that distinction. All right.
Question.
Now, oh, I'm sorry,
Do you have
yes.
a question?
I had a
Question.
question on the last slide. In reference to, we have the students at 26,257, and then we also have the full-time equivalent at 14,355.7. Is the student counseling ratio, is that based on the overall students or on the full-time equivalent student?
It's based on the, good question, it's based on the full-time equivalent students. And this reflects the fact that we have roughly 10 and a fraction counselors in our credit division, so, you know, those numbers are roughly a factor of 10. But it's really not a reflection of reality since it includes credit and non-credit, but the credit counselors only deal with credit students. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Just as a side note on that subject, though, we are planning to hire, I think, 5 counselors. That's in the process through our student equity plan and student success program funding. So that will help the counseling situation.
Awesome.
Now we are into the student, what we call student outcome section of the scorecard, where we look at how students are doing academically, how they're progressing through their courses, and how they're doing completion and transfer-wise. This tab is showing you here as it describes the percentage of credit students tracked for 6 years ending in 2012-13, students who started in 07-08, so a 6-year window starting in 07-08, ending in 12-13, who started below college level in English, math, or ESL. So they took a remedial class in English, math, or ESL. It's the percentage of those students who completed a college level course in the same discipline. So if I came from high school, took an assessment test, and I placed, say, 1 level below college in math, then I would be in this group of students in this cohort, and they would watch me for 6 years to see if I progressed to a college level course. In other words, a transferable course in math, English, or ESL. For math, this number is 43.6%. 43.6% of them progressed to college level. English is 54.2%, and ESL is 17.1%. Now, these are not great numbers. This area, this slide, this very first slide, is the area where the college really is in the greatest need of improvement, and it's where we're focusing our most energetic and intense strategizing and planning and active programs such as ESP, the STEM grant program, IPath programs, all aimed at increasing the rate of progression through these basic skills classes. Students graduate from high school, they take a test, we have to say, sorry, you're not ready for college level classes, you need to take remedial work, and we know that time is the enemy, as Jack says, in those courses. Once you're in a remedial course, it takes a long time to get out, and the chances of not completing increase. There are more dropout points. So if there's good news here, it's that these rates are improved from last year. Last year, let's see. Last year, the math rate was about 10 points lower than that. The English rate is 54%, up from 51% last year. And these rates are also above the statewide rates, but they're still too low. Another factor that's affecting these rates is that this cohort, as you can see, started in 07-08, which was really before ESP kicks in and any of the programs that we've been much more aggressive with, such as ESP, accelerating classes, accelerating progression through these classes. So as we get closer to years where ESP has an effect, we will definitely see these numbers go up. And there are also other statewide initiatives looking at assessment to see, are we really placing students as accurately as we can be? Are we perhaps placing students too low in remedial classes where really if they had a shot at a higher level class, they could make it? So a lot of effort in this area because these numbers are just too low. Getting better than most, but still too low. Any questions or comments about this? Okay, onward. Onward to some better news. Persistence. So this is the percentage of students who state as their goal that they're here to get a degree, a certificate, or transfer. They started for the first time in 07-08. We watch them to see if they enroll in the first 3 consecutive terms, excluding summer. So that'd be like fall, spring, and the following fall. Did they persist? Did they stick around for those first 3 terms? Because the research shows that's a great momentum indicator that you have the willpower to keep going and go forward if you show up for those first 3 terms. These are great numbers, 70%, 72%, 71%. Let me explain what this means by prepared and unprepared for college. These are the 3 divisions, the 3 groupings of this data in this screen and the subsequent screens. College prepared means in your career here at City College, you did not need to take any remedial math, English, or ESL. Unprepared, just the opposite. It means you had to take at least 1 basic skills class in math, English, or ESL. So you see, I mean, it's showing that the unprepared students even actually persist more. And if you look at just our own in-district students, the numbers are even higher than this. So we're doing things right in this area of the messaging to students that it's really important to stick around. Just keep coming back and your chances of succeeding are much better, as you'll see in the subsequent screens. Now there's some little red stars down here. I guess I really haven't talked much about this bottom part of the screen. Let me mention this and clarify what this is. This 70.9% is an aggregated number of all students. In these lower bars down here, it's broken down by gender, age, and ethnicity to highlight any areas where there are inequalities across age, gender, ethnicity. These bars all look pretty equal. Hispanic rate is slightly lower. African American rate is higher. The one thing to watch out for here is that we don't really know how large these groupings are. We know that there is a significant proportion of Hispanics, but a very small proportion of African Americans. So to draw any conclusions from such a small number of students is not really valid. However, it would be for the Hispanic group, because that's a very significant number of students. You'll see across all these screens that females consistently outperform males. So there's an equity issue I'd like to see solved right there.
And just to remind you, we disaggregated this data by Carpinteria High School and the high schools in Santa Barbara Unified School District over the summer. So that's the source of this data. And indeed, this is source data for the equity efforts. And as Robert mentioned, you'll recall the 3 subpopulations that we're focused on within our Hispanic and African American populations: male, part-time students, and economically disadvantaged students.
So if there are no questions, let me move on to this next tab. It's labeled 30 units. So this is the same idea. Students who said they're here to get a degree, a certificate, or transfer, we watch them for 6 years to see how many units they accumulated in that time. This is the percentage of students that accumulated 30 or more units. So they're halfway to their 60 units ready to transfer, or perhaps they transfer even before that time. So again, very high numbers, higher than the statewide rate, higher than last year. This is a reflection of that persistence factor that we saw in the previous screen. The higher your persistence, the more units you accumulate. These are transferable, 30 transferable units, not just any units. So that's really another important momentum indicator for student success. Yes?
The overall number, 69.9%, when you aggregate that, it accumulates the total number of students, right? It's not simply adding the percentages down there below in any fashion, because as you pointed out earlier, some ethnicities have very few students, some have a higher number of students. So am I correct that the 69.9 is all students, basically?
That's correct. That's all students, right? Right. The denominator is the total number of students in that cohort, that group of students we're looking at, and the numerator is the percent that achieve the 30-unit threshold. These little red stars are the groupings where there are less than 10 students in that group. So these small groups, we can't really draw any meaningful conclusions from.
Robert, can you I want to clarify, just to understand, the 30 units, yeah. So
Yes.
it's credit units, so what we're looking at, college prepared and underprepared. And so those are the students that completed 30 transferable units but initially started underprepared?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So that's a credit to them. They started behind and still made the 30-unit mark. Degree and transfer. These are the students who, again, tracked for 6 years, completed a degree, certificate, or transfer-related outcome. Now, this is where the Chancellor's Office makes use of what's called a student match between the student identifiers that we submit, and then there's an organization called the National Student Clearinghouse, which 99% of the four-year institutions in the country participate in. They pool all their identifiers and see, did, John from Santa Barbara City College show up at the University of Michigan within this time period? That would be counted as a transfer, and that's how we get those data, by that Chancellor's Office match. Again, very high numbers, and I think, as I mentioned last year, this metric was one of the big factors in our Aspen Prize. The nationwide number here overall is around 45%. The statewide number is about 48%. So, having a number like 62% is really, really stellar. And that speaks to the success of our transfer office and all the efforts we make in transfer, and also degree and certificate completion. Let's see. I want to mention our IPATH grant here. This is a relatively new Title V grant that is focused on the transfer area, specifically within the general education pathway. And the idea there is to clarify and communicate straightforward pathways to transfer for students who are here to get their general education units out of the way and then transfer. So we expect these numbers to get even better once that program starts rolling and this data catches up with our current programs. Finally, career technical education. This is the percentage of students, again, tracked for 6 years, who completed more than 8 units in courses classified as career tech or vocational in a single discipline and completed a degree, certificate, or transfer. This is also an area that we're looking at and concerned about. We know that many of our CTE students, a significant number, leave before they complete. Whether they get jobs or not, and that's why they leave, we don't know. But we know that this area needs work, and specifically in the student equity plan that was just published that we're beginning to work on, there is a strategy in there to develop specifically a career tech education completion plan for students and work on this area to dig into what's going on there and develop a strategy to get it solved and get these numbers increased. Yes?
Question, the first screen you had about the percentage of students tracked for 6 years for math and English.
Yes.
That were, anyway, the
Medium.
43.6 and the 54.2 for English. When you relate that to the graph just before the last one you talked about, does this graph portray, since that was like 07, 08, and we tracked them for 6 years, do these great increases in the math and English percentages kind of foretell that those other numbers are going to come up?
Yes.
That we've just achieved?
I would say they would. As these numbers increase, we expect to see more students succeeding in the area of degree completion and transfer. Is that get to the essence of your question there?
What was going through my mind is that we had we won the Aspen Award, and that was started years ago in the prep for this, and the faculty and staff earned this, not to mention the hard work of those students. But now, just in the last couple years, we've seen these major increases, which means that we can expect even greater results. And this is, when I first read this, that's what I took away from it, and I just want to know if I was correct in what I read.
We're hoping. At the same time, during this period of time, the lives of students seemingly have become much more complex, as well as the economic burden placed on students. And so we're seeing our students juggling 2, 3 jobs and not being able to necessarily commit the time and the energy it takes. So there's so many confounding variables, but if you just isolate those two, yeah, there should be a very real relationship. Why we're tracking, as you know, English and math is because they're gatekeeper disciplines. They portend, they're a harbinger for success in a chosen field. So, excellent point.
At least I'm confident that you know what you're doing and looking at all these numbers that are available to us. To me, it just said, not only did we win that prize, but we're on track to beat it, significantly, from 4 or 5 years from now, we should look really good.
Nothing is trending downward. Everything is slowly working up, but it's getting a change of 3 or 4 or 5% is difficult, dealing with large numbers and many factors, as Dr. Gaston pointed out. So it's the reflection of a lot of hard work, and some things frankly don't work, other things work very well. So that's what we continue to look for, and the most important thing is that we continue to monitor the data that shows us how we're doing, so we can make decisions based on that data that makes sense.
I wish you were on KEYT, on TV, telling this to the public, because this is the kind of message we need to get out there that we can't do in a letter to the editor or in posters or some other way. This is the kind of thing that we need to communicate. It's a matter of how.
Well, and Craig,
to
there's
do
a
it
lot of
effectively.
things.
Thank you.
There's a lot of, great things that are in the works, and Jack, and we've presented that, so I think, when you look at that, and the biggest challenge that for the system, underprepared for college, you're looking, across the board, all ethnicities, 30, 50, 37, if you entered underprepared, your completion doesn't look as good compared if you entered prepared, you're in the 80s, 70s.
Yeah.
Not that, and for some, even 70 can get to 80. So I think that continues to be the challenge for the system. I think locally, just in our own micro here with our community, some of the things I think we've heard from Jack, and even some of the innovative things to even address some of that underprepared, things like maybe offering some of those remedial courses while in high school, and just I think the different things that they're brainstorming with, I think is a good step in the right direction, at least locally for us, while the system addresses the larger challenges. So you are bringing up a good point. It's an obvious, huge point difference there, but I think that we will see, in the years to come, some exciting things coming out from the work that they've planned.
Great observations. This is the kind of data that I'm sure we're going to continue sharing with the high school districts, the high
we
schools
do.
in our district, so that they thoroughly understand these metrics and don't just look at it. Hopefully there'll be Dr. Else presenting the data so they know what they're looking at if they don't already know exactly, but not just those principals of those schools who by profession should be able to understand this, but there's trustees for all those
Right,
for the
and-
districts.
What Veronica stated is absolutely true, and I think our two districts that we serve, CARP and Santa Barbara, are very progressive, and they're very well aware of that underpreparedness and college and career ready, and hence that's why we're doing so many innovative and progressive things with our local districts. So, yes.
This is good for the population that we serve. We're making some progress here. Thank you.
I
Any
attend
other
a periodic meeting at UCSB with David Cash and the main researcher at UCSB and my research colleagues from Allen Hancock and Cuesta to look at this and other data about that transition from high school to college and beyond, high school to community college, four-year college and beyond, to look for what patterns best indicate success and where we can make the most difference, because that transition affects the largest percentage of our students.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Now you have another hat to wear, huh? Dr. Else?
Oh, yes. Oh, go ahead.
You were just discussing college preparedness and what's been done in the district. I was wondering, is there anything that's being done throughout the Veterans Association, or anything that's out there for veterans to be more prepared coming into community college?
I guess I can't really answer that. Dr. Gaskin, do you want to?
And I'm going to defer to Jack.
Yeah, let me go up here just yeah, there is the students' equity plan. We've identified specific strategies to increase the support and veterans need to be successful from the time they have contact with us. Also, it also includes major outreach to agencies that work with veterans and refer veterans to us. So, but yes, so the answer is yes. So that is one of the groups that we are being asked to help increase their achievement rates.
Okay.
Weren't we also
Thank you.
recognized
Good
as
question.
Best for Vets recently? Yeah.
Oh, good point.
Do you have a question, Marty? Are we all set on that? Thank you very much. That was very, very clearly explained. And now you have another report for us.
To my alternate location here.
All right.
Yes, I'm on. This is the accreditation timeline update. And I would say the biggest change is that accreditation is no longer next year, accreditation is this year. So, the progress we've made is we've had, a massive writing effort to write responses to the accreditation standards. That was all brought together in a single draft. and given to Dr. Gaskin, who used her Christmas vacation to go through it, and it did come back with, how many red pens did you use? It's pink, sorry, pink, okay. I think quite a few pink highlighters were on the floor when she was done. But each of the groups has met and reviewed the things that were good, things that were bad, and so now we're all working on a second draft, and we've accelerated the timeline a little bit to have that extra round of revisions in there. Dr. Gaskin gets another draft at the end of March, and it goes through CPC. It'll come to you in June. It's a tremendous effort, and the good part of it is that it brings all of our institutional processes and structures back into people's minds, and you're kind of forced to get up from your desk and your daily duties and look at the bigger picture and try to describe it, and in so doing, we see the things that are good and the things that could be improved, but we see that it's mostly good, and we're confident that we'll come through this with a great success. The accreditation visit by the visiting team is scheduled for the second week in October, October 8th. And then there are deliberations after that. We should be informed, well, we'll hear the official news in January of 2016. So that's when the party will be. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're very lucky to have you leading that gigantic effort. Right. Next, we are ready to start to look at the revisions on board policies. This is our second reading of these, and that means it's time for us to vote on them. Are there any questions before we get going on this?
And you may take them together if there are none, since.
All right.
Not really a question. I'd like to make so the public knows about the extra effort that some of our trustees have put into this. It's a tremendous amount of work. We are in the last, hopefully the last 25%, maybe not quite, of the policies, and they are painfully reading every policy, bringing in and collecting all the data, and rewording and modernizing them because they haven't been looked at in a very long period of time, like maybe decades. And this is a tremendous amount of work, and we're all reading these policies, trying to figure out what they deleted, and we're reviewing them with all the deletions and changes and adds. I haven't personally been on the committee to do that, but I can definitely appreciate, and I don't think I'd want to put the time in to do that too.
That's good. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion, and if you wish, we'll consider both at once.
Second.
Right.
Did we move?
Are you moving?
I'm moving, okay,
He's
first.
moving? I'll second.
Thank you. Craig and Marcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Yes, you're very right. This is tough work, I'm sure. All right. The next thing that we're going to do requires a roll call of us to do this. We are going to do the discussion of President Obama's proposal, and Peter will lead us into this.
To begin and preface to any discussion, I'd like to move approval of resolution number 26 and respectfully ask for a second. The idea for this came as a consequence of reading the President's message, listening to what was going on, and coming to the conclusion that this was a perfectly outrageous proposal that was not likely to get much press. And there are many in this society who argue that it stands zero chance of getting congressional approval. To me, that's not important. It's important for us to stand up and say, we support this. And you may remember some time ago during a session dealing with long-range planning when the facilitator asked me, what would you really like to have happen? And I said, I would prefer for tuition to disappear, as it had disappeared, in fact, when I was a student. And I hate to see economic capacity serve as a principal gatekeeper for whether someone goes to school or not. And we know what the economics are in terms of the ability of a successful student to generate an income, which I hasten to add is taxable. And most of the economic analyses of this have pointed out that the net benefit or benefit as a consequence of the absolute increase in the number of people who succeed at a community college, the economic benefit is there. And therefore, I think we should say yes to supporting the President's proposal for America's College Plan.
Any other comments or questions about this? Marcia?
One really minor one. I think in its wisdom, spell check has used inshore rather than ensure in the second paragraph there, and we just ask Angie to change it back.
Oh, good point. Craig?
Yeah, and I may not be the only one with other comments. I viewed this with great interest when I first saw it on the news. Been reading everything I could find about it, and indeed, right before this meeting started, there was a radio talk show going through this issue, and I had to turn it off to come in here. I maybe could have stayed in my car for 5 or 10 minutes more, but so far what I'd heard the interviewee on the radio program do, everything the person said, I pretty much disagreed with. So, but there's a lot of controversy on this. Personally, I think that this is that this kind of thing is this is exactly in line with the goals of our institution and what we need to achieve. However, there are a lot of conflicts and issues and side issues not covered by what's been presented so far. And my main concerns, and I know I'm right on at least one, are twofold. One is part of it amounts to an unfunded liability that we are in no position to absorb at this time. And, and that has to do, if you only look at part of it, it has to do with the bricks and mortar that's going to take for us to handle the additional new students. The state of California has told us they're not going to give us any money and support us in building new buildings to accommodate this, yet we already have mandates to provide more counselors and more services to students. We don't necessarily have, and we have no prescribed methods of getting bar to the bricks and mortar to accommodate this work. We did just lose a bond issue that if it had been voted for, if we had that bond issue, and we included in our proposal for the bond issue enough flexibility to allow us to adapt. If this came into place, we would have had the money. We could have adapted or moved our priorities around a little bit and provided for this. And in addition to that, there's the funding. If we attract all these students, all the middle-class students that are going into the four-year schools right now, and they come to us instead, that's our head count goes way up. And maybe the four-year schools lose some head count because they don't go there, but there's only 75% of the funding provided under this proposal. So I don't like the specifics of the proposal. I love the idea of the proposal. I'm very concerned that we put forward, as requested, what we're going to vote on, because I think that A, it's premature, and B, it's not worded correctly. I believe that we should say something like, we love this idea, that this is a great first step to get the process going, but it remains to be seen how this can be implemented and how it relates to the four-year schools, the UC system, and the state college system. If we can't look at how that relates, and what about the students coming into us? that are underprepared or coming directly here from high school. If you give somebody something for free, it's not necessarily appreciated as much as if they paid something for it. There's a whole bunch of different factors that could come into play, but it gets too expensive for these young people to come out of high school, complete a college program, and acquire these skills that they have to begin their actual life outside of school in debt. We have to do something as a society for that. I commend this goal. This goal that the president presented to the country is laudable. It's absolutely wonderful, but it needs a lot more fine tuning, and I'm not gonna, if we all let go in a second, but I cannot support the way we've worded this approval of it. I think it needs to be modified, and I think there's not a big rush and that we can wait till we've had a chance to write it differently. I'll be quiet now, thank you. Even though I could go on for a week, but I'll be quiet.
I'm going to call on Nicholas and then Peter.
Thank you. I prepared a few points. I've been studying this not only through our documents, but also through the State Student Senate, and a number of things as a student ring in my mind. I'm just going to go ahead and read so I can stay on topic here. So, issues that I see with Obama's college plan as a student. Tuition is covered. However, are there going to be subsidies for housing? Are there going to be subsidies for transportation? Are there going to be subsidies for books and other supplies? As a student, those are things that cost more than the tuition that I'm paying for out of pocket. I think that if there was some adjustments made for those, that this would be more appealing to economically disadvantaged students. Tuition across California is already pretty inexpensive, and there are state-funded programs that can already cover most, if not all, tuition costs, such as the Board of Governors fee waiver. Again, this puts all of my money as a student going into books, supplies, transportation, and rent. Majority of it is rent. The most likely to benefit from free tuition would be those that already have the money to pay for tuition in the first place, based on that reason. If your tuition's already paid for and you don't necessarily need it paid for, the money is not going into the school that possibly go in to benefit somebody else that can't afford such things. I feel there should be an effort to create affordable housing for enrolled students and to help them subsidize the cost of living across the board, not just the tuition. I think that's coming up more than once in this. Also, the criteria set forth, if I'm not mistaken, I think those are already in place as far as financial aid goes. So the 2.5 GPA, the 67% completion rate, and the under 90 units, so you're not considered excessive unit status. I think that's already in place right now as far as the help that we're already giving students. So I don't know what other criteria might be kind of put in small print. So that's something else I'm kind of concerned at this point. And with that, those are my points that I wanted to bring up to the board. So, thank you.
Peter?
Well, these are good points, but I think it has to be recognized that this is step one in a process. It wasn't designed to solve all of the problems. But one of the things that I would call to your attention is the fact that Board of Governors grants now covers substantial numbers of students. For them, college is free. So the group that tends to be not included is essentially middle income earners. And I think the president has made it a point several times that what he's hoping to do is eliminate that distinction. There's no doubt that the other costs are going to remain there, and I would urge the president and others to help, as Europe to a very large extent has covered those kinds of expenses, because it makes sense to have an educated populace that contributes to the economy and therefore contributes to the tax base. But I'm under no illusion that what we have in front of us is the final bill. I absolutely not.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I have a couple points. So the first one is that I think we could add in the last, therefore let it be resolved, that we support the plan as it is now, and we support future exploration into similar plans. So just to balance that, we like the idea, but we know that it's not a finished or complete idea. Second, I think tuition being free is a good thing. I don't think we would appreciate it less. I mean, I don't know how to say this easily, but a lot of people older than me benefited from free tuition when they were young and my age, and my generation is the one that had the cost of education balanced on our backs. I think having free tuition at all systems is the needed status quo. The other one is that this is a statewide issue, and it's in line with what the master plan. While it might not be the best plan for our college, I think it's the best plan for our state and for our country. We would save a lot of the money we spend on financial aid, so if tuition is free, we wouldn't have to give people financial aid for tuition. We could give them financial aid for ancillary costs like housing. And passing this means that we're in support of the issue at large, and it keeps the conversation going and will maybe bring about similar proposals at the statewide level, even though the federal one might not even pass. So I'm in huge support of this idea.
Are you proposing an amendment?
Sure, I'll propose an amendment that says, therefore be it resolved that the current language, however, we acknowledge the idea is not final and support further exploration into this proposal.
I'll second that.
Right, that's been made and seconded as an amendment. The discussion then moves to the amendment. Veronica?
Yeah. I just, I see both of your points, and thank you for bringing this up. And I agree, California has an amazing three-tiered higher education system, the community college, CSU, and UC, that is really unique in the world and is amazing for students. But what I do recognize is that we have a free TK-12 system right now that's been free. And I think that that needs an opportunity to be fully funded to the levels where students can receive the quality of instruction that will prepare them for college and career. And I think that as a community college, we talk a lot about that. And we just heard from Robert's report, and looking at the staggering difference between your completion rates coming into school, college prepared versus unprepared, is no different than starting kindergarten prepared and looking at your first grade reading achievement and your fourth grade reading and writing scores, and your algebra gatekeeper in high school to chemistry and college prep courses. So I think that while this is something that would be ideal, once our K-14 gets funded at the levels where our faculty can provide the instruction that is at the highest level of quality, including the professional development that they need to further develop their capacity and content knowledge or whatever they need, in addition to providing the support services, then we can talk about this. But I don't think that our TK-14 system has even been offered that opportunity, not including our 0 to 5 community. So I would stand with Craig to not support this at this time.
Any more discussion of the amendment?
I have no objection to the amendment. If the seconder has no objection, we don't really need a vote.
All right.
Could we repeat?
Yeah, maybe I could word it a little better. So pass and adopt, therefore let it be resolved that the Santa Barbara Community College District Board of Trustees supports President Obama's America's College Promise Plan, however, recognizes that the plan is not final and supports further exploration into the matter.
I'm wondering if it would address, at least in some degree, Veronica's comments, if we also included a sentence that we encourage exploration of increased support for K through 12 and preschool as well, because we all recognize, and much of the research suggests, that those early years are so important to success later in college. And so if we perhaps included that, would that help address your concerns? Because I think we would be encouraging the conversation to include those concerns.
Yeah. And I think, and I would also add, the nation, most of the states now have undertaken this huge challenge to bring everybody under national standards. And that has yet to be seen how that implementation will occur and whether that implementation will be funded at the level in which it was proposed to be funded. And so I think that that is a very serious conversation that it either is or is not happening, but is the reality of our K-12 schools currently. And so I think that's such a massive undertaking. And then now bringing in our community colleges, I think it's steps. And I think while this is all, it's all good, it's not now. Let's slow down and let's look at what we have and make sure that we do that right. And the Common Core is a huge undertaking right now that many, I think what we've heard from our local school boards, they haven't received the funding that they thought they were going to receive to even roll that out locally.
Well said. I would like to add, and I like what you said could really be, and also an amendment, Marcia. That would get me about half the way towards voting yes, but and then the rest of what you said and what Veronica just said, which was very well done, I think we need to seriously look at the impact on the four-year schools. How many of those middle-class students in those four-year schools are going to go, oh, why should we stay here when we could go to the JC for the first 2 years and we could save, all this money? So there's impacts on both directions.
But Craig, that's already the case.
Yeah.
Students pay a fraction now of what they would pay at the university. So that's already the case. That's not going to change.
But even the increases have gone up so much in the last couple of years. I mean, we heard, I think, from the gentleman that came down from the state, they're now considering an extension to Prop 30. So if we're looking at increased tuition in our CSU and UC system with the support of Prop 30, what's it going to be like when Prop 30 expires and if they take it back to the voters and the voters say no? And so I think that this is all these things to consider where tuition is outrageous right now at the CSU and the UC. And it has been increasing for the last couple of years.
Jonathan looks like
Yeah, I just want to say something about the whole, how the 4 years are affected. It costs a lot more money to educate a four-year student at the lower division level, which is what we teach at a UC. So if we siphon those people off to the community colleges, the 4 years would have less operational costs because they are educating less lower division class students, which is the purpose of the master plan. Like the master plan's purpose is to have less people at lower division at the UC and CSU and a lot more here. So I think it was a cultural shift that went to saying you have to go to 4 year right away or else you're a failure in life, which is somewhat of a cultural norm, at least at my high school. So I think it's a good thing that we would take more students from the 4 years because they could focus their efforts and money on upper division teaching, which is their main purpose, and research.
That's wonderful. All we need now is a whole bunch more bricks and mortar, that we don't have the money for.
Excuse me, Marty, and then Peter.
I just want to acknowledge what a great discussion this is. The truth is that this resolution and Obama's plan and all that gives us a great starting point for really interesting discussion of higher education. I think it's really an important discussion right now with Common Core and so on. I like your points on that. I mean, we have to consider K-12, but we also have to think of the students who even though you give them free tuition to community colleges, will still have some roadblocks.
Yes.
Because they have to study, they have to take time off of jobs, all that sort of thing. Nicholas, you should go study. No. But, and tuition isn't everything because there are fees, there's books. So there are a lot of roadblocks still, but I think the discussion is a great one to have. So I'm going to support this because I really think we need to have that discussion, probably at the state level, well, at the national level, but also at our state level, because it'd really be good to do that, have that discussion.
Peter and then Lori.
Well, I sympathize with each point that's made. I mean, I can't disagree with Veronica. I believe that K through 12 have been woefully underfunded. This is not a subject of debate. But I'm a trustee for a community college. I'm not a trustee for the Unified School District. So my proposal is to focus on the community college. And I'm happy to embrace amendments that will recognize the value of the points that you make. I think that's not to be debated. But what the focus of this particular proposal is has to do with tuition at community colleges. And though there are other things that also need to be funded, I don't see us not voting to favor this. The idea of unfunded liabilities looms large for virtually every proposal. But in this case, I think the economists have shown that the long-range positive benefit to this investment is profound.
Lori?
So I have hearing all your thoughts, let me see if I've captured another amendment. Therefore, be it resolved that the Santa Barbara Community College District Board of Trustees supports President Obama's America's College Promise Plan. However, recognizes the plan is not final and supports further exploration into this matter and into the significance that quality pre-K through 12 education has on college readiness.
That's good. Yep.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's.
I would
I think
propose we amend it consistent with that.
I'll second.
All right, in that case, it's now become an amendment again, so I think we have to vote on the amendment. Is that, or are you still thinking as amended?
As amended.
All right, are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Fine, that's what we'll do then. Would you read again the amendments? Thank you.
Taking off from supports President Obama's America's College Promise Plan, however, recognizes this plan is not final and supports further exploration into this matter and into the significance that quality pre-K through 12 education has on college readiness.
Thank you. All right, I think we're ready to vote unless there's something I've missed.
I have one question about your amendment. Sorry, I was just thinking about it. Are we focusing on funding here? So we might say that funding for quality pre-K or
I think what I heard from Veronica was wide open.
Wide open, okay.
But
that's fine.
what I heard was the connection between quality pre-K through 12 and college readiness.
Well, because I think maybe, the governor funds us as K-14, right? So I think it's equally, our community colleges haven't received adequate funding for us to even deliver, I think, the quality of instruction that our faculty could, had they had all the resources at their disposal, looking at classroom instruction in addition to their own development and what they need.
So you would go to pre-K through 14?
Yeah, I mean, I see.
That doesn't impact college readiness, so that's, so I'm not.
Right, so you got the college readiness end of it, but when I came to budgeting, I'm looking at a K-14 because that's how he packages it. And I know that our community colleges haven't been funded at the level that we should be.
I hope that Sacramento gets a tape of this discussion. I think this has been really very enlightening and useful. Craig?
Yeah. I move, and whether you support me or not, I'm going to move that, I'd like to move that, that we put this off till the next board meeting and then vote for it.
Well, you have a motion on the table.
Yes.
So you need to do that, and then if you want to table it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever we got to do.
Are we,
Um,
point of clarification, are we voting on the amendment first and then the original motion?
No, the decision was that it was an amended motion by the person who gave the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Yes.
So it's been moved and seconded in the amended state.
Okay. Thank you for.
That's a good question. Thank you, Nicholas. That's a little unusual, but I'll take it. All right. Then what we're going to vote on is this motion as amended. If it does not pass, then we can talk about the next step.
It's a roll call.
Yes.
Trustee Croninger?
Aye.
Trustee Haslam?
Aye.
Trustee Gallardo?
No?
Trustee Kugler?
Aye.
Trustee Nielsen?
No.
Trustee Abode?
Aye.
Trustee Bloom? Aye. Trustee Stiles?
Nay.
All right. Thank you. It does pass. I hope that this discussion will continue, because this has been very important, I think, for all of us and for the future. So let's keep going on this and keep aware of it. Thank you, Peter, for bringing it to us and giving us the chance for this discussion.
I see no possibility that further discussion will not happen.
I think you're right.
Are you
but I think-
making a statement about the issue or about the trustees?
Well, both perhaps. But, I mean, on this, we have now passed the resolution, and there's a CCLC conference in Sacramento. And I will invite them to have the same kind of robust conversation that we've had. And I fully admit that there are controversial aspects to this. That's cool. We call that democracy.
That's good.
All
Can
right.
I ask something since we're talking about resolutions?
Would you
Later, I can ask.
say it again?
Can I ask, you know, about, I said we're talking about resolutions, and I didn't know, I wanted to ask Dr. Gaskin, if there's any traction, and I know, at least when Lisa was here, and the nursing came up, and how expensive it is for nursing. There's a resolution from some community colleges at Coast looking at funding for nursing in some of our CTE that are more expensive.
Yes,
Do
but
you
that
know
has
anything
not-
about
That
that?
hasn't gained any traction.
Okay.
As far as my understanding is.
Because I know that that is something we talk a lot about, that we do have, you know, very expensive programs that we need, but that unfortunately cost the community colleges a lot of money.
And what the system is saying is go to your business and industry for partnerships. And fortunately, we have a very, very strong and
Right,
rich
with
partnership.
Cottage and yeah.
With Cottage Health Systems. Wonderful partnership.
All right, unless there's any final comments on this, we're going to move to the consent items. Human Resources, Pat.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Gaskin, and Happy New Year. Welcome back. I have the consent agenda items, and I do have a couple of changes to ask you to make on 8.1, which are the actions involving permanent personnel. On page 1 of 2 at the top, there are 2 positions that indicate they're to be announced. One of those positions I am prepared to announce, the other one I need you to remove. The one I am prepared to announce is the library assistant. We have selected Yensia Vega. Yensia's first name is spelled Y-E-S-E-N-I-A. Yesenia is probably the right pronunciation. Vega, V-E-G-A. She has been hired on step 1 of level 18, and she will join us on February 4th. The accounting technician 1, I have nothing to announce. We are still recruiting for that job. With those 2 changes, I can ask you to consider 8.1, 2, 3, and 4 as one item.
I would entertain a motion.
I would request that we vote on these separately, because I'll have to not vote on the second one.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
can
yeah.
do the rest
3 and
and
4?
then do the second one.
Okay.
So what we're voting on are all but the second one.
So 8.1, 8.3, and 8.4.
Motion to approve 8.1, 8.3, and 8.4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. I have a second item this evening, which is an information item.
8.2.
We need to
Oh,
go
I'm so
back
sorry.
and vote on the other one.
Moving forward here.
Okay, motion to approve 8.2.
Second.
And Dr. Hasland has excused himself from this.
No, I'll abstain when you vote.
Okay, fine. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
Thank you.
Okay. I have another item for you tonight, which is 9.1, which is a normal procedure that we go through with you twice. The first time is this evening. It's a normal procedure where you will see an agenda item when we are initiating negotiations with one of our collective bargaining units. The item tonight is to begin the process with the staff union, the CSEA, Local Chapter 289. The current agreement that we have expires June 30th, and at this point, the entire contract is open for negotiations. You have some of the items we have an interest in discussing with them on the agenda, but I want you to understand the whole contract is open for negotiations. So there's a government code section that is cited that requires that we provide this opportunity for the public to make comment. We're sunshining this with you, and you will see this again next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. All right. Wow, we're moving.
It was fun to see some discussion too at these meetings. All right, I am up at the beginning of Jack's presentation, although I don't get on board docs, to ask for a consent for these curriculum course modifications for courses and courses that need board reapproval.
I'll move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there
have a question.
questions? Yes, Nicholas.
This is for the curriculum.
Yes, I'm
advisory
sorry.
committee. What, I just had a question.
New
What
courses
is,
and course modifications.
what is mathematics for elementary teachers?
Luckily, I actually do know the answer to that. I'm like, actually review these and check ahead of time. It is a course that was designed by one of our really outstanding instructors here. Pamela Gunther is also an ESP, and it was a class to meet that same level of math, but for teachers who are going to, for students who plan to go into teaching. So it's just a way to make math sort of more engaging for them. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, although I didn't research it. These modifications are courses that are already there, and they pretty much update, say, what the textbooks are, or if they made a change to SLOs. So that's what I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure. You were just curious.
I'm curious, there's currently some talk of getting a mathematics course that's transferable, that isn't necessarily calculus and up. So I'm wondering if this is going to be alluding into that kind of a program.
Okay, that's a good, I don't think so, but it's a good question.
But there are many courses below calculus that are transferable, but they're very specific math courses that are eligible for requirements for the AA or the AS degree, or that meet a certain transfer requirement for entry. So we need to be careful about that, and that's all stipulated by our transfer agreements with our receiving institutions.
And I just wanted to add, to Dr. Armando when she's presenting on behalf of the faculty, but the time and effort that goes into modifying these courses and with the work of articulation officer, I mean, if you go on assist.org, our students can pull articles for virtually every campus and matching from degree to degree, whereas if you go to other community colleges, you won't get that same article. So our students are really lucky that there's a lot of work that happens here and that they get those courses approved so that they are UC and CSU transferable, which is a huge plus for us. So thank you.
Point, yeah, and that's what's nice about this course, that interest level for students. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay, did we
Are we
pass
ready?
them?
No, we will.
Okay.
I would entertain. Oh, well, we can just take guess. Thank you. Let us vote. I'm sorry, yes. I got interested in, mathematics is close to my heart. I got interested in
got
the
sidetracked.
topic. Oh, all right, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go from mathematics to personal enrichment. So recommending new courses for the CLL. Recommend approval of the new courses.
I'll
Are
move
there
approval.
questions? Oh, thank you, Peter.
Second.
All right, are there questions? We often
Not
have
really,
them.
I always love reading these because
Yes,
there's always some unusual course descriptions or ways I never thought of wording what they're actually going to teach.
Yeah.
It should be interesting.
Reflects the creativity of our community, people, what they come up with I'm always amazed that people take these classes.
It's also a sign of our time. I mean, the online dating course.
Yeah.
The subtitle is more interesting than the title. Safe, secure, meaning that there have been instances when it hasn't been so safe or so secure.
Yeah, especially if your wife finds out.
Craig Nielsen. I'm shocked.
That was a joke.
I'm not quite sure that you guys are good advertisements for that course. Oh, all right. Jack?
Yes,
Are you ready?
I'm recommending approval of
Yes.
these courses.
All right, and we'll vote on all of the courses that have been recommended for approval.
Well, we have a motion
Yeah,
on this one, though.
we have a specific motion on that previous one. Yeah, all right, so I guess we have to do it two votes.
Yeah, I would recommend you go back to 10.1 and take action on 10.1.
Yeah, and then do
take
the
action
other
on
one.
10.2.
All right.
Yes, 10.1.
All right, let's do 10.1 first, then. There has been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, thank you. Then 10.2 is approval of stipends,
Yes.
faculty stipends.
We have a motion on that.
That's 10.3.
10.2.
10.3, 10.3, I'm sorry, 10.3.
So we haven't voted on 10.2?
Can we do both of those together,
and
or
Oh, they didn't
are
vote.
we going to need to do
I'm sorry.
both of those separately?
I got ahead of you. Just vote, I'm asking for you to vote on 10.2 first.
All right,
Yeah,
fine,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you, Jack.
I thought you already voted, so I am.
Yeah, you got involved in the discussion, too.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
was contemplating.
10.2,
Peter's
all in
comments.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 10.3,
Okay, so I'm
and that's the
recommending,
stipends.
right, so recommending approval of faculty stipends, 10.3.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, question, oh, that's a...
I move
I'm
approval
sorry.
of 10.3.
Yes, thank you.
Second.
Now, all in favor?
Aye.
She wants to get us out of here. Move it along.
I'm going to try not to get quite so
Okay, thank you.
involved in listening to the discussion.
No, you
Oh, come on, where's the
So
fun in that?
interesting. Very well, thank you. Now let's go on, and we're going to look at some business services consent agenda items.
Yes, 11.1 through 11.8 are the consent agenda items for business services. They can all be taken together.
Yes, is
Let's,
there
let's have a
anyone that
motion.
needs to be removed from this set? If not, I'll entertain a motion to do it all
Move
together.
Approval.
I have a question.
We need a
Okay.
second. I'll
Let's
second.
get a second.
And then
I'm
you
sorry.
can,
You know, the Cuba thing caught my eye, so I thought about that a little bit. And I thought, is this a time when we really want to send our students there? Or is it
We have-
appropriate at this
We
time?
have
you
done
think?
this before.
You already talked about this in depth, that,
No, but we have sent our students to Cuba before.
Before.
It's
Oh,
a
okay.
regular part of our study abroad program.
okay.
And my answer to you would be yes.
Yeah, thank you, that's all I
This is
needed.
precisely the time.
Is it?
I mean,
Okay.
I can recall when we took our first group of students to China, and there were similar reservations. We did it, and we were the first in the nation to take our students to the People's Republic of China. And I love the idea that we are taking students to Cuba.
I don't know, I was part of a group that took 60 junior high kids to Beijing, you know, and that was very rewarding for everybody. I just wondered about the thing with Cuba being brand new. I didn't know that we'd already done it, so I thought I would make an inquiry.
In fact,
And I did not have an opinion, yes or no.
Good.
I believe that it's been done several years.
Okay.
For
Yeah, it
several
was
years.
done actually a few years ago when they went. They came back and actually did a report here at the board on it, and it was very nice. It was a great program, and the students were very enthusiastic. So,
One time they had an argument in the gallery.
yes.
This is our fourth trip.
Thank you.
Can we
Are there
get pictures
Other
when they come back?
questions about any of the items? Marcia?
I just wanted to mention as a reading, in reading the Cuba spring break contract, there was a provision there which, and I may have missed this, but it appeared to refer to something that wasn't part of the contract, that basically said that the travel agency could require everyone to sign a liability agreement or they were out of the program. and it didn't say what that liability agreement would contain. And it would be my preference in the future that we include it there so we know that whatever they're requiring is reasonable and not just, you're going to indemnify us for whatever happens as a travel agency or something like that. So I just think in the future, let's get it into the contract.
And yeah, that's a standard clause in all of our study abroad contracts. They require that, so.
Well, but putting in the language
it.
that the travel agency wants enables us to read it and agree whether it's a good and fair requirement.
So for the future.
Yeah, for
Yes.
future.
Thank you. Any other questions?
There was also a clause in the proposal that seemed contradictory. One says that the agency will select the student, and then later on it says SBCC will select the students. And I want to be clear that it's our faculty who do the selection, not
Well,
the agency.
There's no selection, so if that's in there, this is an open access course, as all of our courses are, except those that have enrollment limitations. So if you can bring that to my attention offline, we can get that stricken. and
At
revised.
least it appears contradictory, and probably that should be taken care of.
So if you can make a note, Joe, to look at
We
that
can-
as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other questions, concerns, comments? All right, then we will vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Okay, item 12.1 is resolution number 27. It's the budget transfers between major objects, and we can take this in conjunction with 12.2, the resolution number 28, which is an augmentation of revenue.
Now, these are roll calls.
Yes.
We need a motion.
I so move. I move.
Better.
Back, away from the microphone.
Did you
I'll
say
second.
Oh, all right, thank you. And Angie?
Trustee Croninger?
Aye.
Trustee Haslam?
Aye.
Trustee Gallardo?
Aye.
Trustee Kugler?
Aye.
Trustee Nielsen?
Aye.
Trustee Abud?
Aye.
Trustee Bloom?
Aye.
Trustee Style?
Aye.
And resolution number resolution number 29, item 12.3 is the transfer from ending fund balances for the month.
I'll move. Approval?
Second?
Trustee Croninger?
Aye.
Trustee Haslam?
Aye.
Trustee Gallardo?
Aye.
Trustee Kugler?
Aye.
Trustee Nielsen?
Aye.
Trustee Abud?
Aye.
Trustee Bloom?
Aye.
Trustee Style?
Aye.
Item 12.4 is resolution number 30, and this is with the California Department of Education Child Development Program Agreement Funds. It's an amendment to the contract to add $6,571 and an increase to a new total of $119,153.
Could you say a word about why we're doing this, aside from their request?
Why?
Regulated by them in order to
Yes.
receive this block grant.
Yes.
It's required.
The amendment, we have to vote on it, resolution.
You don't have a choice.
Given that there's no way out, I'll move to approve.
Second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Croninger?
Aye.
Trustee Haslam?
Aye.
Trustee Gallardo?
Aye.
Trustee Kugler?
Aye.
Trustee Nielsen?
Aye.
Trustee Abud?
Aye.
Trustee Bloom?
Aye.
Trustee Style?
Aye.
And item number 12.5 is resolution number 31. This is our non-resident tuition fee proposed for 2015-16. And this is a proposal from the college. The way we base this decision, there are 7 methods you can use if you went through and read them. Option number 4 is no more than a contiguous district for a not to exceed amount of $235 per unit. We chose Ventura Community College as the contiguous district. That's what they charge. And what we're actually proposing is $225, and that's based on our actual cost from 2013-14 of $210, plus the additional cost for international of approximately $15 a unit. And so that's where we have the $225. In addition, there's the capital costs, and the capital costs for the year were $31. And so we're proposing to add that. So the total fee is $256 for non-resident tuition fee that we're proposing for 2015-16.
Joe, could you elaborate on this term capital outlay? I mean, I'm really confused about what that means.
Capital outlay, it actually is just that. It's all our construction costs, our construction project costs for the year that we put into capital projects, either new or modernizations or major deferred maintenance projects. So it includes all those that are that come within that criteria, whether they're state funded or
among the international students or the out-of-state students, non-resident students.
Non-resident. It's the amount for all students per FTES, but it's added to this fee.
Because there's an inherent assumption that resident students in some way, shape, or form are contributing to capital through taxes and the like, whereas non-residents are not. So we are able then to levy a fee on top of the tuition.
Yes.
Great.
I looked at this pretty good. I still have only maybe one question. After I read everything and I asked about the only option that where we could really get more money was a huge increase, and didn't see that it was that big of an increase all at once. Well, it wasn't like tripling it or anything, but that large of an increase was had potential to have negative effects, which would be inconsistent with our mission statement, what we're trying to provide the students, and that was read at the beginning of our meeting tonight. However, when I looked at number 4 and really read what he said, I had the understanding that it could have been $10 higher than where we actually went. Instead of going to 225, we could have gone to 235 and then added the 31 to that. So if I'm correct in that, and if I'm not, yes, but I'll just give you one more sentence, I would make a motion to change that to raise it $10 to 235. You guys don't have to agree with me. It's not like a bad thing, but this was a political thing too.
Some explanation for why you think that.
Okay, well, that takes another minute or less, but there we have been publicly criticized for not charging enough tuition for out-of-area students, and I've been looking into this, and I think that if we have the room to do this, that it's really not going to cause any kind of serious drop in enrollment, and any money that comes out of this needs to, any extra money, what has been proposed and what's in writing is basically break even. That's it. But depending on how you define it, depending on which viewpoint you take. But the extra $10, as long as we spend that, where we need to spend it within some constraints, benefits the whole organization, in my opinion. That's how I justify the extra $10. We were criticized for for charging fees that were like 1/4 of what other schools around the country were charging for out-of-area students. And that was in print.
From the administration, is there? You've given some thought to this, right?
Well, yes, and our recommendation is before you.
Yes.
And that recommendation both recognizes a 7% increase in the actual tuition and a 106% increase in the capital outlay fee. And it takes into account the fact that we fundamentally believe that our education and teaching and learning is enriched by a diverse student population. We don't want to outprice ourselves so much that we lose that richness. So we've been very careful, and it is the recommendation of our International Students Program that we proceed with the 225 plus the 31 for 256. That takes it from the current place it is now, which is 225 to 256, which is a 11%
It's 11,
increase.
just over 11%.
Right. Marcia?
I had the same question Craig did, basically, which is if we are comparing ourselves to Ventura, and Ventura is charging $10 more, 335?
Right. Why do we go?
Why are we less? And it's not making sense to me, because first off, we need the money. Second off, we took a lot of criticism during the bond for, as you mentioned, for basically undercharging. And I find it more difficult to say we chose to charge less than Ventura than I do saying we have charged the maximum we are allowed under this calculation. And when we're talking about percents, the percents for the capital, obviously that's a big number, but that's because we spent money on the capital. And I think it's important, based on the rationale, that our out-of-state students do not provide capital improvements. So I'm not worried about that. It's a smaller number and it's a bigger percent. So we're really looking at the 7% for the most part in the tuition increase. And I find it a little hard to think that that $10 is going to price us out of the market, basically, compared to Ventura.
Can I, our discussion was basically looking at the elasticity of demand and the fact that we were taking it up almost 11%. And that is a concern that's a big jump for taking it. We did compare ourselves to Ventura. That's where we got the 235. But we also don't know exactly what they're going to charge for capital projects cost. This is the most we've ever had for capital projects cost. So when we coupled that with, looking at, so I don't know what their total is going to be. In other words, it's 235 plus whatever their capital projects costs that they choose to charge. But when we looked at it and discussed it, it was, I'm just giving you what our perspective was that, okay, we're taking up a significant amount, and the way we felt that we could do that was we took the 210, we took the differential cost of the $15, and that came up to the 225, and the capital projects, and it was just, when we looked at the combined cost, that seemed very significant to us. So that was our discussion.
No, I appreciate it, and I realize that that's a reasonable way to look at it. I just find it harder to explain to the community that we chose to charge less than we could.
And if I could go a step further.
Given the comparison to
Right.
other
Option
colleges.
4, there's a bit of a deeper calculus to it than just commensurate with the contiguous district. The minimum is the statewide cost. For option 4, the minimum statewide cost, which is 200, the maximum is the contiguous district, which is 235. That's one of the reasons we felt going to 225 would recognize the statewide costs, the maximum contiguous district, and set our enrollment fee slightly toward the end of the higher cost. So it's not that you set it at 235. You've got this range that the calculus
Right.
requires.
And I'm arguing for the maximum, basically,
I
because it seems to me to make more sense. We need the money, and charging the maximum. I recognize there's the elasticity issue. I think it's very hard to tell what the impact of that is. We're all guessing.
We've been discussing this without a second on the motion. I just thought I might throw that in. Would someone care to? Yes, Craig made a motion.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I remember he made it because he said he was going to make a motion. No. not-
Well, I
You-
don't remember my exact words, but I may have made a motion that we raised it, and then I asked
Yes.
in the form of a question.
I think you did.
And, but I,
Long
for over
ago.
$10, as long as I'm talking.
It sounds like we
This
have.
was the only two issues. There's one other issue in this issue that I had something to say about tonight. But it's only a $10 difference, and it makes it go a long way towards justifying what we did. I have to talk to the people that voted for me, and some of these are the same people that believe that criticism we got in the press. And I can make an argument not to raise it to 380 or whatever we could do under number 7, but I don't know how to justify this to them. I understand what you told me, what you told us, Dr. Gaskin, But I still, that doesn't give me the enough ammunition. I can't say that in a sentence to them because they don't have the background to comprehend that fast.
Angie, do you have the notes for the motion?
I just have Craig Nelson made the motion to amend it, to raise it to $10, and that's as far as I.
And we haven't had a second.
No, we don't have a second.
Well, I'll second it. That
Thank you.
sort of motion.
Now I think we can continue the discussion if you wish to, or vote. Lori.
We always look for a quantitative reason to reach a particular value, a particular number with non-resident tuition. Our cost is provided to us by the Chancellor's office. It's $210, our district cost. We then added $15 because, per FTES because we were made aware from Joe that there were unfactored costs associated with the provision of services. That's how we got to 225. I want you to know it wasn't just making it up on the spot. It's very quantitative, just as it is with the 31. So that then was the logical landing place. We're not striving to make money at all. And that was one of the discussion points we had. We're striving to cover the costs, the direct costs, and indirect to some degree, of providing above and beyond services to our non-resident students. So that's why we landed at 225.
All right. Jonathan?
That just kind of answered my question, but I wanted to ask it a little more in depth. Why are we increasing it? Like, is there a specific budget shortfall that we need to fill, or is it?
No, we're trying to recognize the true expense of providing department and office support staff to our non-resident, in particular, our international students.
Okay.
So the history that we gave you in the agenda shows that we typically raise it every year to factor in that rising cost. Good question.
Thank you. Craig?
I can appreciate very well what Dr. Gaston just said, and that's a great way, and one of the first ways you should ever look at it. But one of the indirect costs we have is, according to the public and my constituents, and maybe not in my district so much, but in Trustee Bloom's neighborhood, the impact of the student housing situation, and other inferences have been made in the press, in the media, about the crowding and the impact on the residences and everything. And I think that extra $10 could be put to really good use in better relationships in the communities that are impacted by our students. And I don't have enough information maybe, and I don't know that you do, but it might be that every one of these international students is housed somewhere far away and bused here and not making any impact at all. But I don't know that to be a fact. But I do believe that we owe it to our community to be the most responsible and the least impact on them. But we have to put first our goal, our mission statement, and then after that, so that's why I didn't propose that I would vote for number 7. All I did is ask for a little tiny increase that I don't think will make a difference, but will go a long way with our constituents.
Peter?
I don't think it will go a long way to cope with the economic issues that are being discussed. I can't see that $10 is going to make much of a difference. But it is a legitimate question whether we want to continue inviting increasing numbers of international students here. And that is one of the 2 issues on the agenda for the Educational Policies Committee that will be meeting next week. If we indeed do decide to limit that, then there are other ways of doing it. I tend not to support that, but I think I'll have to vote no on the amended version of this motion because I don't know enough, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that $10 is going to make any significant difference one way or the other. So I will vote, I will introduce a motion to support the administration's position if this is defeated.
Could I ask Joe what the $10 comes to? How many students? $10
It's,
per unit?
oh, per unit?
The amount of money we're talking about.
It's $10 per unit. So it'd be,
No.
it actually.
How much in our budget? I mean, the entire budget for tuition for international and out-of-state students is, and this $10 makes how much difference
And
in the total budget?
in the total budget?
Total.
Total revenue that we'd receive from them?
Total revenue for $10 more.
I could calculate, I don't have it in front of me. It's, what is it? It's 10 over 2.
What's
over
the
200
FTES
and-
for our
It's 300,
out-of-state?
so.
I don't know.
Or non-resident?
It's about 0.33%.
That's not helping.
It's not helping.
We're looking
No,
at
it's a $100
$120.
million budget, so it's a big number.
1,500 international students in 1214, but that's a head count.
And it's
But that's international, it's also out of
they're
state.
usually full.
We don't claim it. I'm,
Out of state is another 1,082, so call it 2,500.
right, but we don't know the FTES
Well-
because we don't claim FTES on non-residents.
Well, we do know it, but we don't know it in our head.
No.
But they do take approximately 30 units, so it'd be,
Well, not non-residents, not out of state. The international students have to take 12 units.
I think that's a good point to your point, which, I was like, resolutions vote, but you're bringing up some very valid points. And I do know that we have to guarantee them courses, correct? So I think that you're bringing up a good point. If you can add extra revenue, because if you accept them to come, we have to guarantee them courses, and we don't even offer that guarantee to local high school students. So, I mean, I think that now that if you're thinking that these $10 would somehow add somehow.
Oh, it
to the-
increases our budget by
Right.
some amount. I was just trying to get a ballpark on the amount. Because Peter was suggesting $10 isn't that much, but I think per unit, it is quite
It's
significant.
per unit is what
FTES,
it is.
yeah.
It's not per student.
No, it's
Or me-
per student.
per
So it's
student, per-
240 over the course of the year times 1,500.
Okay.
So 240 times 1,500.
$240 a unit.
No, it's $10 a unit times
Right.
24 units over the course of the year,
Yeah.
12 and 12.
Okay.
So that's 240 times 1,500 students is 360,000.
So
So,
that's
and that doesn't
significant
count
money.
the out-of-state.
Yeah.
So-
And that's not the out-of-state.
And we would also get money from out of state. So we are talking about a considerable amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's significant in our budget,
And
is why, to me, it's important that we claim it.
Can I ask, was that, we're just talking about the difference, the differential at $10?
Correct.
Interesting.
yeah, what makes that big of a difference?
Yeah.
It's a difference, the $10 is a difference to the student, and we're already jacking it up a little bit, well, quite a bit. The extra $10 is just on top of that, and we can do it. And it does make a difference to our budget and the money we have available for what we need to spend it on.
So essentially, the motion is that we add $10 to the original discussion.
Well,
So-
let's do a
Per-
specific, so it would go to 235
All right.
plus the capital fee. I just
All right.
want to be real specific.
Okay?
That's correct.
That is the motion, though the recommendation was not to do that, or was to say 225. So when you were voting for the motion. I just want to be sure people understand.
Voting
which
for
is
the
which.
amended motion to go to 235
Right.
for the tuition and $31 for the capital.
Right? Unless there's any major other question?
Well, technically,
We'll-
I don't think we had a motion to
Yeah,
be
we did.
amended.
Yes, we
You
did.
You did have a motion.
Craig made a
We
motion.
made the motion
I know.
initially to make it higher.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Then there's not an amended motion.
No.
You want to amend the amendment?
No. Okay.
No,
Where are
it's
the
not
Marx
an amended
brothers when we
motion.
need
There
them?
were actually, that's actually the motion. Right? All in favor? Oh, we have to, I'm sorry.
It's roll call.
Yes, of course.
Trustee Croninger?
Aye.
Trustee Hasland?
No?
Trustee Gallardo?
Aye.
Trustee Kugler?
Aye.
Trustee Nielsen?
Aye.
Trustee Abud?
No.
Trustee Bloom?
I have no idea. I'll say aye, but I don't like the idea of just voting for something because we can. That's what it
No,
almost seems like.
we have to, this
So
report
I'm
has to be
sorry.
turned
Wait a
in.
minute,
I know,
no
I know.
discussion, we're voting.
But I just don't like that.
Trustee
But I said
Staff?
aye.
I vote nay.
Nay? Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
the motion passed. Right, that was another interesting discussion. As essentially the first time I've chaired this, I'd like to know exactly what you have in store for me in the future.
A lot more discussions.
A lot more of these discussions, I
is your
see.
year, Marianne.
All right, thank you very much, Joe.
Interesting.
Now, as far as I know, we do not have an information technology report. Is that correct?
Right.
Then,
No closed session.
this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.